In the beginning, long before the manger in Bethlehem, before the angels announced his birth, and even before the world itself was formed, Jesus Christ existed. The pre-existence of Christ is a foundational truth of Christianity, clearly revealed in Scripture. Today, we explore the biblical evidence that Jesus Christ existed before his earthly birth, and challenge skeptics and non-believers to disprove these undeniable truths. The pre-existence of Christ is not a vague or abstract idea. It is explicitly taught in the Bible. Let's begin with John chapter 1, 1-3. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Here, Jesus is identified as the Word, who existed in the beginning, before creation itself. Not only did he exist, but he was actively involved in creating all things. A created being cannot create the universe. Jesus is the uncreated creator. Colossians 1:16-17 reinforces this truth. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him, and he is before all things, and by him all things consist. Jesus is not only the creator, but also the sustainer of all things. He existed before all things, which means he cannot be part of creation. He is eternal. But what about verses like Micah 5:2, which says, Jesus' goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting? Doesn't that just mean he existed in God's plan, not literally? Not at all. Micah 5:2 is a prophecy about the Messiah, stating, But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. The phrase from everlasting means from eternity past. This isn't about a plan, it's about a person who has always existed. Jesus' origins are eternal, not temporal. The pre-existence of Christ, eternal before Bethlehem. In John 8:58, Jesus makes a stunning declaration. Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. Here, Jesus uses the divine name, I am, which God revealed to Moses in Exodus 3:14. By saying this, Jesus claims not only to have existed before Abraham, but also to be eternal, the same God who spoke to Moses. The Jews understood his claim, which is why they picked up stones to kill him for blasphemy. But what about Philippians 2:6-7, which says Jesus made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men? Doesn't that imply he didn't exist before his human birth? On the contrary, Philippians 2:6-7 confirms his pre-existence. It says, Who, being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. Before becoming a man, Jesus existed in the form of God. He willingly humbled himself to take on human flesh, but he did not begin to exist at his birth. He has always been. The pre-existence of Christ is woven throughout Scripture. In Proverbs 8:22-31, wisdom is personified and speaks of being with God before creation, a passage many early Christians saw as a foreshadowing of Christ. In John 17:5, Jesus prays, And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. Jesus speaks of a glory he shared with the Father before time began. And in Revelation 22:13, Jesus declares, "I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last." Only an eternal being can make such a claim. To the skeptics and non-believers, disprove these verses. Show us where the Bible contradicts the pre-existence of Christ. The evidence is clear. Jesus existed before Bethlehem, before Abraham, before creation itself. He is the eternal God who stepped into time to redeem humanity. Embrace the truth. Jesus Christ has always been, yesterday, today, and forever.